And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Starting off the marine segment here with tonight's forecast, we have this active front increasing the wind and rain over the southern panhandle. Tomorrow, that'll bring gale force winds with gusts to 60 miles an hour to the southern southeast coast with lighter wind and precipitation to the north. Otherwise, out west, really not much of anything going on. And then you can see the next system here coming onto the chart. And for Thursday afternoon, moves to about this position here as this front weakens into a trough and brings rain along the North Gulf Coast into the northern panhandle, stays fair to the north and quiet out to the west. And for the coastal water forecast, gale warnings here for the central and south coast, wind southeast 40 to 45 knots, Clarence Strait southeast at 40 knots as well, and southeast 25 knots, Stevens Passage, but north at 30 knots for Lynn Canal, and the North Gulf Coast here, east winds 35 to 45 knots. And then for Thursday, still looking at some gale force winds here, south to southeast 35 knots on the south coast, and east southeast 30 to 40 knots up north. Lynn Canal southeast at 15, and small craft advisories, Stevens Passage and Clarence Strait for south to southeasterlies at 25. Prince William Sound north at 15 tomorrow, seas 3 feet. Same forecast for northern Cook Inlet. Small craft advisory southern Cook Inlet into Kamishak Bay for 25 knot winds. North 25 for the Barren Islands, western North Gulf Coast. And a little brisker out east there, northeast winds 30 to 35 knots. And full gales for the eastern North Gulf Coast on Thursday. East winds 45 knots, east winds 30 knots now, 7-foot seas in Prince William Sound. And minimum gales there for the western North Gulf Coast, 40-knot winds out of the east and northeast for the Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay. North to northeast winds 20 to 25 for Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island. North to northeast winds 20 to 25 knots tomorrow. Light variable winds, Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. And on Thursday, north to northeast winds 25 to 30 knots for the peninsula, Bristol Bay. Northeast at 20 and east northeast 30 for Kodiak Island. Eastern Aleutians, variable winds 10 to 15 knots, variable at 10 for Adak and Atka, and then something of a breeze west of Adak, looking at a north to west wind at 20 knots. And then for Thursday, northwest 20 for the western Aleutians, central areas, north at 15, small craft advisories for the Fox Islands, north winds 25 to 30 knots. And here along the southwest coast, winds east tomorrow, 10 to 15 knots. St. Lawrence Island, east at 15, but a brisk wind advisory in Norton Sound for east winds at 25 knots. Light variable winds for the Pribilofs, northeast at 15, St. Matthew Island. And for Thursday, Norton Sound, northeast at 20, light east winds for St. Lawrence Island at 10 knots, even lighter here for the Yukon Delta coast, northeast at 5. 20-knot northerlies, Kuskokwim Delta coast, Pribilofs, and St. Matthew Island. Up to the north, Chuck CC tomorrow, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots, brisk wind advisories, western Arctic coast, east at 25. And for the central and eastern coastline, east winds 15 to 20 knots. And for the day on Thursday, eastern coastline, east to northeast, 20 to 25 knots, east 25 for the western coast here, turning northeast down toward Cape Lisburne, and the Chuck CC, northeast winds 10 to 20 knots.